Hello and welcome everyone. This is Nitesh Mishra from Federation of Indian Export Organizations, popularly known as FIO, India's apex trade promotion organization. And you are listening to the Voice of Exports, India's first exclusive podcast for EXIM community. On this podcast, we bring top performers from the sector who not only inspire but also reinvigorate among you to become one of them. Welcome to another episode of Voice of Exports, India's first voice podcast started by FIO for its member exporters. Today we have in our program Mr. Rajiv Sajdeh, who is from Indo-German Yarn and Fibre LLP, which works under the name of Tex Twist. Welcome, Mr. Sajdeh, to this program.
Thank you very much.
Starting the program, the very first question I would like to ask you, Mr. Sajdeh, would be to please introduce your company and the products into which you deal into and how it all started.
Tex Twist, that's our brand name. We have been associated with technical textiles for over 3 decades now.
Okay.
We started as specialists in sourcing and distribution of high-performance fibers for the Indian market.
Okay.
Working closely with the leading international manufacturers.
Okay.
Over the years, we realized that technical textile waste, particularly high-performance fibers like para-aramid, preox, and others, still retain tremendous value if processed correctly. This led us to invest in recycling technologies and subsequently in manufacturing yarns and fabrics from reclaimed technical fibers. Today, we are involved across the value chain from sourcing and recycling to manufacturing specialized yarns and fabrics used in personal protection, industrial safety, thermal insulation, and several engineering applications.
Okay, you have been for so long in this segment of industry. So how do you see the forecast going around for the growth of this industry, for the growth of this sector, specifically when we talk about looking at the current scenario as with regard to the war going on in West Asia, and before that maybe the Russia-Ukraine war, because you have been exporting, you said that you've been exporting to Europe, you have been exporting to other Western markets.
Well, the challenges are, of course, tremendous at the moment because of, as you said, the challenges that we face, which all started with COVID, of course, and it has continued since. But however, if I speak about technical textiles per se, the prospects are great vis-a-vis the Indian market because we are at the moment probably consuming 1/10 or 1/20 of what the world consumes in technical textiles.
Okay.
So it means that the scope for growth in India is far, far more than traditional textiles. So that's on the Indian market scenario.
Okay.
As far as the exports are concerned, as you said, the war and everything, now that has put a lot of challenges over what you call supply chains.
Okay.
That is a big issue right now because shipments which used to take normally say 35 or 40 days can today take 80 days or 90 days. And the prices for the movement of goods is even, much more expensive than before. Nevertheless, I think if you are into technical textile, and as this is a very, very specialized industry, one of the biggest challenges is the performance and consistency of your product. That is what the buyer is purchasing. He's not buying fabrics from you. He's buying performance.
Okay.
So that is something that a person has to remember if he is entering the technical textiles.
Okay.
And another challenge in navigating different in technical textiles are the standards and regulatory requirements across countries. Because again, these are performance-based, so you have to understand the regulatory requirements and the standards, and you have to get your right certifications and follow the protocols. So these are some of the challenges that are there if you are looking to export.
Okay. When you talk about the sector, how
Yeah.
do you see this sector in comparison to what China is doing in terms of technical textiles? Because it is one of the major players, in fact, the key player in technical textile.
Yes, you are absolutely right. The difference between China and India today is very, very vast, primarily because they have already got the expertise to produce the base fibers for
Okay.
technical textiles,
Okay.
whereas we are still importing majority of the technical textile fibers for our use. That is the biggest advantage that China today has over India.
Okay.
Nevertheless, as I said, technical textiles is a performance-based product, not a mass production product. So
Okay.
even if you are an SME or a smaller company and you can find a niche market for your product based on your performance,
Okay.
you can still make a good mark in this market.
Okay. You are talking about how to overcome the challenges when you are comparing your sector, in fact, the technical textile sector of China with India.
Yeah.
What are your proposition to overcome those challenges, which you just now talked about?
Look, the biggest challenge, as I said, is the raw materials.
Okay.
But unless we start consuming those quantities, putting up plants in India would not be a viable option.
Okay.
So yes, today, because of our FTAs with so many countries and the European FTA coming up and the UK FTA coming up, we are going to be able to import those raw materials at, I hope they are part of that,
Okay.
at much better pricings than previous.
Okay.
So that would definitely, help us overcome this imbalance with China.
When you talk about the FTAs and the key trade agreements, and
Yeah.
especially the BTA, which is going to come up with the US, how
Yeah.
do you see these trade agreements going to benefit the textile sector of our country?
I am hoping that these are part of the FTA system, and
Okay.
if they are, then you are looking at a lot of transfer of technology to India for producing the fabrics and the materials in India,
Okay.
where we have a distinct competitive edge over other countries,
Okay.
primarily because of our vast SME sector.
Okay.
And technical textiles is most suited to SME sector because Germany is one of the leading manufacturers in technical textiles,
Mhm.
and you will find that majority of the business is held by SMEs. So if these FTAs provide us with the right impetus, then we can look forward to some very, very good developments in the technical textile sector in the coming years.
When you talk about FTAs, a question comes into mind about market diversification.
Mm-hmm.
Has it helped all these FTAs in recent years in market diversification for India's technical textile exports to other countries?
I think it may be a bit premature because we are still not a net exporter of technical textiles. But I see that in the coming years, yes, there will be a big benefit. Look, the markets in Southeast Asia, the markets in the Middle East, they are
Yes.
going to be big markets for us. And with the FTAs with the Middle East countries, it will be a big boost where I think even the Europeans will tap into India as a manufacturing hub to produce and sell into these countries. So definitely it will be a big thing going forward.
One question which I would definitely like to ask: what is the USP of Tex and Twist when you talk about the technical textile sector of India?
Yeah, okay. Look, we have always believed that, as our Prime Minister says, make in India. I add a little more to it. I say make for India.
Okay.
what we have been doing over the last 20 years is we have substituted a lot of imports, which the Indian companies used to do from places like Germany and China.
Yes.
And we have also started exporting in collaboration with our European counterparts. We have been exporting yarn into Germany since the last 12 years, recycled yarn.
Okay.
And we have been successful in this because of our long-term relations with many of these partners overseas.
Okay.
And I think that our USP has been that we make long-term partnerships, and we think of our buyers and sellers as partners. And reliability, consistency, and technical competence and long-term partnership. These are the hallmarks of what we do today.
One question I would definitely not like to miss would be, how were you introduced to FIO services, and what made in fact you to seek us out?
Well, anybody who is looking to export or even work within this country cannot miss out being part of FIO. FIO has their support for international buyer-seller meets, trade delegations, export guidance, policy updates, and networking opportunities are immense. You just cannot miss them out. And even while I've been in Amritsar, which is right on the northern corner of this country, but through FIO, I have been connected through Pan-India and internationally as well.
Okay. When you talk about all these events which we do, we have started new initiative from FIO's side during the past couple of years, which is the RBSMs or the BSMs across the country. How has it helped the sector as a whole?
I think if I speak about the overall impact, I think it is the awareness that has within the industry, which FIO has put across with these. The awareness levels have really gone up. When I started this business, for example, very few people knew what technical textiles was and what the impact was of these products. But through these few initiatives, the spread of this awareness has been tremendous.
Okay. When you talk about the key challenges and your key learnings during your journey of exports, manufacturing, especially the technical textile sector, what kind of lessons would you like to provide? Say, if you have to provide 3 points or suggestions to the new budding exporters who would like to come into the sector, what would be those?
Well, one of the biggest learnings is innovation never stops.
Okay.
Technical textiles is constantly evolving.
Okay.
So continuous product development and customer engagement are very, very essential. Another important lesson from my perspective is that sustainability is no longer optional.
Okay.
It is becoming a business necessity.
Okay.
Customers across the world increasingly value responsible manufacturing and circular solutions.
Okay.
Our customers are actually now, since if I compare this from 5 years ago and today, they are actually asking us for recycled products more and more.
Okay.
Finally, relationships matter.
Okay.
Whether with suppliers, customers, or institutions like FIO, long-term partnerships built on trust have been one of the strongest contributors to our growth, at least.
One last but not the least query which I have, a question which I definitely would like to ask.
Yeah.
How do you see the technical textile sector grow from here on in the next 5 years? And what kind of opportunities do you see it will bring for the technical textile sector of the country?
I think if you're looking at a growth, you're looking at something like 8 to 10% growth per annum. That's the kind of growth you're looking at. So you can imagine in 5 years what the scale of this business is going to be. So anybody who misses this bus is really going to miss a big one. So my advice to anybody would be, if you want to get on this bandwagon, do it now.
Okay.
Do it now. And please don't, if you are going into technical textiles, please don't try to compete on price. Find a product. That is the crux of technical textiles. And finally, you have to be patient.
Okay.
It takes time. This is not cotton or polyester. Be patient. Do your learning, and the opportunities are abound.
Thank you, Mr. Sajdeh, for being so candid and insightful in your approach while answering my questions. And thank you for joining us in this program.
It has been a pleasure.
Voice of Exports podcast by FIO aims to provide important information and views on foreign trade, especially on exports, which will help both Indian exporters and importers. Any statements made by an exporter, importer, or an importing company in this podcast as guests reflect the views and opinions of that individual or the company. This podcast does not constitute an endorsement by the FIO of the individual or the company, his or her or its employer or affiliated entity. The specific information or views provided, resources mentioned, or products or services endorsed or offered by that individual or the company, his or her or its employer or affiliated entity. FIO assumes no responsibility for the accuracy, completeness, or timelines of the information provided by the guest or the company in this podcast, or for the decisions made and reliance on any information provided by the guest or the company in this podcast. We thank you for listening to this episode of Voice of Exports podcast service brought to you by the FIO. For more information on how you can start exporting, please visit our website www.fio.org.